This show is brought to you in part by Wayne County Community College District, where education shines bright.
What's happening in entertainment? From Tinseltown to the Big Apple, this is your weekly entertainment magazine with Greg Dunmore of PulseBeat.tv.
Pulse of a new generation. PulseBeat.tv.
Hi, and as always, I welcome you to this edition of PulseBeat.tv's Greg Dunmore's Hot Happenings. I'm standing in front of Detroit's Cobo Hall, where I first remember Prince performing in December of 1980. We're going to be showing our love for the one and only Prince later on in this show. But first, let's join Blair Underwood as he gives PulseBeat.tv an exciting scoop on a Detroiter who is exceptional in the world of the dramatic arts.
Hey, it's Blair Underwood and you're watching PulseBeat.tv.
I don't know what this is about.
This is about a kidnapping yesterday in Brooklyn.
The right to remain silent.
You're crazy.
You are at a point now where legendary, you're at the beginning of legendary, you're still a young man.
I don't even know how to deal with that.
But what you've always symbolized is a sort of, not sort of a dignity and a class to be a young black man that sometimes we're not always associated with. I mean, Tupac had a certain image, and I'm not against it. I mean, but you symbolize this other thing, and it is a sophistication, it's a class, and it's a dignity that never goes out of style. So I say thank you for representing us so very well.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
The Detroit stories and being in Detroit, and this is a turning point for us, and this community is predominantly black, a lot of black males here that certainly need to have you as a role model, but your attraction to this project that is underscoring urban America through the eyes of someone that knows Detroit so very well.
Yeah, and that would be Dominique Morisseau. I'm here because of Dominique Morisseau. Ruben Santiago Hudson, who's directed a number of her plays, is here. Andre Holland is here as well. So, yeah, I met Dominique when I did one of her plays called Paradise Blue. So for those of you who don't know, Dominique Morisseau is one of the most important voices in the theater today, the American theater today. She's from Detroit. She has a passion for Detroit like you would never believe. She has a 3-play cycle called the Detroit Project. The project that will be produced here is called Detroit 67. It's placed in the context of the 1967 riots, of course, here in Detroit. But she has an ability and a gift and a knack to speak with specificity and speak with humanity and speak with honesty that is very rare today. Now, she would tell you she's not unique. I and many of us think she's incredibly brilliant at what she does, and that's why we're here. So she's producing this out of her 3 plays, the Detroit Project. This is the first one produced here in Detroit. So it's a big moment for her. It's a big moment for her work. But what you'll see when you talk to her, you'll see she's really all about creating opportunities for other voices in this community to be heard like her voice is being heard.
Yeah, well, these guys have been a part of my Detroit cycle of plays. So I have 3 plays about Detroit called the Detroit Project. And the first play that's coming here to Detroit is called Detroit 67. They should come see it because it's really good. These guys, Ruben Santiago Hudson, Blair Underwood, and Andre Holland have all been a part of my play Paradise Blue, which is also a part of the 3-play cycle. And the last one is Skeleton Crew, and it's about the auto industry in Detroit. And so these are homegrown stories about 3 important eras in our city's history, and you can learn about the history if you see the shows.
Wow. Now, the Tony Award winning Ruben Santiago Hudson, you know what really good is about. What makes her really good?
Because she celebrates the people, the culture, and the community is with incredible depth and integrity. And anytime that somebody's telling our stories and really shining the brightest light on us, our people and our ancestors, it's a good day for all of us to participate, join in, and support it.
And being an actor of note, I'm sure that these really wonderful plays are far and few in between. So what is it for you as a black actor to have a playwright of her level of intelligence to wrap it around your acting chops?
It feels like a gift, a real gift. I mean, so often the plays, the parts that come my way tend to be things that are sort of on the periphery, but Dominique does a wonderful job of putting our black experience right at the epicenter of it. And so as an actor, it feels like the most wonderful experience, the best ride you could possibly go on.
Now, Detroit has been in the spotlight nationally and really internationally because of the good, the bad, and the ugly. So what about Detroit would you want the audience to take home, or what about Detroit is something that you're trying to shed a light on? What aspect of the city?
I'm trying to show the aspect of our humanity into, Detroit is not just one thing. I mean, we're a mixture of people with different experiences, different interests, different ways of life. And I think that like anyone else, anywhere else, I think the one thing I don't want is to continue this violent, poverty porn kind of narrative about our city. And it doesn't mean that there isn't poverty here, but if we're going to examine it, we're going to examine it in 3 dimensions and not 1-dimensionally, which is how it's getting examined in the media.
The urban agenda, there's a crisis going on in the world, and especially in this, I want to call it what is it? Is it a well, I'm going to call it CPT was known as colored people time. So now it becomes a critical Trump problem for maybe the country. And I'm not going to make a political thing, but I am going to talk about the crisis that we are having in urban America, and Trump has a solution maybe, and Hillary Clinton has a solution maybe, and Bernie Sanders maybe, Cruz maybe. When you talk about theater and helping to bring light to this urban crisis, is there something that you've picked up in doing the show that you're doing right now that talks about urban America, Detroit?
Yeah. Well, I'm not doing this play, the Detroit 67, so I'm not in the cast. We're just here as friends in the support system who have done Dominique's work to support her. But what she does, and in this project, she has a way, these 3 projects. The first one's called Paradise Blue, set in 1949, all about Black Bottom and Paradise Valley. But that's set against the gentrification in the 1940s with Mayor Cobo coming in and disintegrating, basically, Black Bottom, all these black-owned businesses and corporations. So it's about the outside forces affecting these, usually 4 or 5 people in her plays. Detroit 67, the same thing, how the riots of 67 affect these groups of people. And that's how she drills down into the humanity. And then the third play, Skeleton Crew, is all about a car company and a skeleton crew at night and dealing with 2008, it's in 2008, dealing with the whole recession at that time and how we as a community are impacted. So she's been that very clear, concise voice. I'd say concise, but also she's poetic, and also she's theatrical, but also she's very raw and authentic at the same time.
Now you say, he just gave us a theater history lesson about Detroit. So theater is a teaching too, because you said more about Detroit than a lot of folk know.
Well, no, it's amazing, because I didn't know about, especially with this place in 1949, Paradise Blue, which is not happening right now, but I didn't know about Black Bottom. I didn't know about Paradise Valley. There's a book called Detroit Before Motown. Yeah. So we know about so many people, our generation and generation after us know about Motown. But there was a whole music scene, primarily the jazz music scene, set in Paradise Valley. All these jazz clubs. It was a lot. The greatest in the jazz world, in the music world, came through Detroit into Black Bottom and Paradise Valley.
Now, what Dominique has done is something that I want to underscore and get your insight that theater, especially for African American actors, there's this genre which was known as the Chitlin circuit, and depending on how you like chitlins, for some folks it's a delicacy, other folks it's something that's filled with something else. But theater now in which she is doing, which I know is what I call hot theater, and that stands for higher order thinking theater. Your opinion about the sort of work that she's bringing to actors to wrap their acting chops around?
Well, whenever you have a voice like her, it creates opportunity. And we get, as artists, we get excited. And as audience members, we get excited because somebody's speaking our language, literally and figuratively, and is speaking our language in the way in which we speak, with our cadence and with our rhythms, and digging down into how we really feel about stuff. Not being politically correct, but having an edge and understanding to, really how we as a culture communicate and how we feel and speak. So she's been able to do that, and as an artist, to be able to speak those words of someone who speaks our language in that way, it's really extraordinary.
It is, and when we talk about,
I just want to say the reason we all flew in, we're here for Dominique, is because Dominique's work has been known all over the world. Really, yes. This play that's going to be produced here in Detroit for the first time has been produced 12 times before. Detroit 67. This will be the first time it's been produced in Detroit. So, like she said, people, she's one of the most humble people to ever meet. She said, but people know my work all over the country, but they don't know me here.
Yeah, and and then I want to pat myself on the back because I think for record that I was the first person to talk about her play, yes, on the radio, and no one talked about it in this market, and I did, so I want to claim that. But
Claim that, brother.
But when we talk about extraordinary, your career, which is ongoing, is extraordinary from what you've done on television, and I know what you do in terms of fashion because I own many of your suits, and I absolutely love them. And then what you've also done as it relates to, well, let me put it this way. You have done so much, and there's a little birdie telling me that you might be involved in the movie, a biopic of a legendary woman. There's a bird that's telling a little bird that you may be in a film, but of a legendary woman that we love in Detroit. That's called a teaser. But there's one legendary woman we all love in Detroit. It starts with an A. But anyway, can you let us know what is? Can you let us know what is upcoming in your career? Something that is about to happen, and if it could be a scoop, we would love that too.
Well, I don't know about that biopic yet. I mean, that legendary person in Detroit that starts with an A, we've discussed the project numerous times over the years, so if it's about to jump off, that's good to know. I just finished doing a pilot for ABC called Broken, which stars Anna Paquin. She was like the youngest Academy Award winner for the piano many years ago. She's not 11 years old anymore. So it's primarily her story. We'll wait to see. We'll know next month in May if ABC picks us up, but it looks really good.
Fantastic. And I want you to tell the audience, because this is going to be aired on a Sunday, which we know is a very special day, and the Spirit is telling me that there's something that you can share with our audience that is going to change their lives when they hear it from you to them. Somebody that wants to be well known, that wants to be celebrated, that wants to be successful, and you've been all of those things, so something you can tell our audience.
It's a very good point. I mean, you say for someone who wants to be well known and celebrated, I would look for that affirmation from God and from within before you look to the world for affirmation or confirmation or validation. I think it's a simple thing to say, and it can be a slippery slope when we start looking and worrying about all of our followers on Facebook or Instagram and who's really, we think, giving us affirmation. But just know who you are in His name first.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. I like to say really the great, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because the good,
like that.
Yeah. So when we talk about fame, the great and the good of fame for you would be?
The great, man, the great is for people to, appreciate what you do and let you know that. I enjoy, especially when you leave Los Angeles, I enjoy coming out and seeing people, meeting people I never met before, and 30 years in the business, people have something they've seen maybe 20 years ago or 29 years ago or 2 years ago, with a new audience and different projects. So that's exciting. I don't see a lot of downside to it. I mean, it's a business, so it's, sometimes frustrating. There are projects you want to get off the ground. That's frustrating. I've learned you work as hard on the things that you're passionate about. You try to make them happen, and also you diversify. So you have at least 7 revenue streams. So 4 or 5 of those revenue streams aren't working today. The other 2 are. So it helps you kind of keep balance and keep your sanity.
Well, as I told Murray Hardwick, and I think he's like yourself, a very dignified actor.
Oh, thank you. He's a good brother. Yeah.
And in the spirit of course, Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte and all of those other, Al Freeman, if you knew him, Al Freeman Jr., another great actor, So in the spirit of these dignified black actors that have always done it with class and dignity, we are grateful that you are part of that wonderful tradition. And may God continue to bless you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Pulse of a new generation. PulseBeat.tv.
Get ready, Saturday, May 14th at the Detroit Music Hall, performing live in concert. It's War.
All my friends never know right.
With special guest, the Average White Band. Tickets on sale now. Available at the Music Hall box office and all Ticketmaster locations. To see War, along with the Average White Band, Saturday, May 14th, live in the Music Hall.
107.3 FM, WVIE.
How would you like for this to be you? Well, it could be. If you have the desire to be an independent radio personality, paying yourself, this is your chance. WVIE 107.3 FM and WHPR 88.1 FM are looking for people with outgoing personalities who can attract sponsors. Launch your career on a radio station with the latest technology in broadcasting. WVIE 107.3 and WHPR 88.1. If you're into talk, R&B, oldies, jazz, gospel, or soca, Radio We Can See is where you need to be.
88.1 FM. WHPR.
Have your own radio show. We have block time available. Call 313-868-6612. Radio We Can See. Broadcasting live in the Virgin Islands and Detroit. Comcast Cable 91, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Postbeat.tv, did you know? Hot happening moment.
Postbeat.tv.
A Postbeat.tv hot happening recommendation is you've got to be today, Sunday at 3 p.m. at the Dr. Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, where the very profound Randall Robinson is going to be giving a lecture as part of the Liberation Film series. When you hear Randall Robinson speak, you truly know that he's hot as in higher order thinker. Your feelings about Prince as an activist and musician?
Well, obviously, he was a great innovator. And he was an independent innovator. He elected to trod a road of artistic freedom, and he did that with a great deal of courage. I mean, it's hard to pigeonhole him. He really, what his genre is up for debate.
Mr. Randall Robinson, who's at the Dr. Charles H. Wright Museum on this Sunday, April 24th, and he's giving a lecture on a novel that everybody's got to have. Let us know about it.
Novel's Makeda, and it's about this wondrous grandmother born blind who has lived at other times, lived in the ancient world, lived during the age of slavery, and had these marvelous lives, so that she is in a position to tie together the pre-slavery period and history of the black world together with the contemporary black world. She has arced it all. She has seen it all. And she says to us in this book that our people have known better times. We've had great successes, and these need to be known to contemporary people in the world so that they will be encouraged to know that because we have been great once before, we can be great once again.
So, you see, you've got to also remember that the Dr. Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History does this sort of programming all the time. So if you're not a member, you must become a member. And remember, when you support the museum, you're supporting a culture that defines greatness.
Pulse of a new generation. Pulsebeat.tv.
As I said earlier, it is Cobo Arena, where I first remember Prince performing in December of 1980, and he mesmerized this city and certainly put his unique stamp on the arts and entertainment scene that would be shared in its enthusiasm around the world. Now, sadly, we know Prince is no longer here, but in spirit, he will always be here, and his great music is certainly going to shine bright. Prince is being celebrated all over the world in a very perfect, special way. From Detroit, New York City, of course, Minneapolis, and Paris.
Before he created the music, he lived every bit of it. Come on, lady, for friendly word. Get that phone, drop it on the floor. That's all I heard. I'm gonna let the elevator break us down. No, let's go. Purple Rain.
Postbeat.tv special Prince Memories is something that just took place last summer in August when we were bestowed the honor by the National Association of Black Journalists, the Award of Excellence in Television. And after that ceremony, Prince was so gracious to open his estate, Paisley Park, to the NABJers to celebrate our convention in Minneapolis in the award ceremony, and we were able to get an insight in a home that is like none other.
Paisley Park, Prince's Paisley Park. You know, we had a chance to hear Prince talk and address an audience of journalists and also natives from Minneapolis, and we were very, very impressed.
As you can see, there are no instruments. But I promise next time, if the folks can come back, we'll do it for real. I just found out at too late a time, but you're welcome anytime, though, otherwise. We'd like to let you know that Jay-Z and I are putting out an album come September 7th, so check him out. It's going to come out on his label called Tidal. I don't know if you all know about it, but he could use your help and appreciation because he's trying to do something big right now. There's going to be physical release, and there's also going to be downloads available for you. So that's our new work, and if they can get a CD player, we'll play some of it for you. All right? Thanks again for coming out. We appreciate you. Peace.
Very impressed, and Prince would have made you proud to have heard what he said to the audience. He's getting ready to record with Jay-Z, and we are, once again, impressed. We like to keep it hot and happening, and nothing is hotter or more happening than standing in front of this multi-million-dollar estate known as Paisley Park.
Prince's home certainly showed a lot about his taste. He was colorful and he loved purple. We all know that. He also had a nightclub that was connected to his home, a studio where he recorded music that would be listened to, of course, all over the world. And when we think about Prince in the Postbeat.TV fashion, we like to reflect on the interviews that he did.
I have nothing else to prove. I feel like the greatest performer that I could have been, and people who love me feel that I was the greatest performer they'd ever seen, so there's nothing left to prove like that.
What do you most want people to know about you? First of all, what do you think the perception is?
Well, I'm sure after the past 2 years or so, it's become quite strange.
Yeah.
I hear they're calling Diana, the artist formerly known as Princess, now. So, I mean, if it's gotten to that point, then...
Okay, so people think you're weird, they think you're strange. What do you want them to know?
The music.
There was never like any rivalry between you and Mr. Jackson?
Oh, not to me, no.
Okay. So I love the story of you, you know, there's all these Prince, I'm sorry. That's the guy you used to be.
Mm-hmm.
There's the story of you turning down Bad.
Well, you know, that Wesley Snipes character, that would have been me. All right, now you run that video in your mind. The first line of that song is, "Your butt is mine." Your butt is mine. Now I said, who gonna sing that to whom? Because you sure ain't singing it to me. And I sure ain't singing it to you. So, right there we got a problem. James Brown played a big influence on my style. When I was about 10 years old,
my stepdad put me on the stage with him, and I danced a little bit until the bodyguard took me off. The reason why I like James Brown so much is on my way backstage, on my way out, I saw some of the finest dancing girls I've ever seen in my life. And I think in that respect, he influenced me by his control over his group, his dancing girls.
Pulse of a new generation. PulseBeat.tv.
Get ready, Saturday, May 14th at the Detroit Music Hall. Performing live in concert, it's War.
All my friends know the low ride.
With special guest, the Average White Band. Tickets on sale now. Available at the Music Hall box office and all Ticketmaster locations. To see War, along with the Average White Band, Saturday, May 14th, live in the Music Hall.
Pulse of a new generation. PulseBeat.tv.
Now, there's a lot that's been said about Prince, and you know we always like to keep it hot and happening and do it just a little differently. There's a performer who was iconic that is also a legend in their own right, and Prince and this performer for me were kindred spirits in a way that no one I think has ever talked about. So allow us to show you why this legendary performer and Prince were kindred spirits.
C'est si bon de patiner pour nous, bras dessous, en chantant des chansons. C'est si bon de se dire des mots doux, de petits riens de tout, mais qui en disent un long. Je cherche un millionnaire avec des grands Cadillac cars, Minko, des bijoux.
Now, that was truly a hot happening moment, Eartha Kitt being compared to Prince. But did you see it? I hope you did. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of PulseBeat.tv. Prince, he will always be very close to our hearts and our soul, and he was certainly a man that defined what it is to have a lot of heart and soul. Prince, this is for you. May God continue to bless us with your music, and your memory will always be purple, perfect, and unforgettable.
I never meant to cause you any sorrow. I never meant to cause you any pain. I only wanted one time to see you laughing, babe. Only wanna see you laughing, yeah. In the purple rain, purple rain, purple rain,
Pulse of a new generation. PulseBeat.tv.